Howdy everybody, welcome to NWR TV. I'm John Rairdin. A Star Fox thing happened. Let's get into it. So, I've seen this exactly once, but we're gonna get into it and just sort of get some reactions to it. I have some thoughts percolating. I honestly, based on the impressions I've seen from people online so far, think that I'm more positive on this than other people, but we'll get into that. One of the big things people are talking about already is the redesigned characters. I like them. They are hugely different. Here's what I'll get into why I like them. Something that happened over the course of the Star Fox series, if you go back to the promotional stuff for the first Star Fox and the stuff for Star Fox 64, the art style of both of those games, well, not the first one's very, untextured, but if you look at the promo stuff for the first one or the art style of Star Fox 64, they're pretty grungy. The ships look dirty. The puppets that they used for the marketing in the original game is very it's very real. And then gradually as the series went on, once you get past Star Fox Adventures and into Star Fox Assault, everything got very sleek and clean. And then once you get to Star Fox 64 3D, they really established this super sterile look for that series. And so I'm actually extremely excited to see them reapproach the art style for this game and do something legitimately new. The thing, okay, obviously the fact that it's Star Fox 64, again, not my favorite. I'd rather have a new game. We'll get into that. But something I do love is this concept of taking that game, which was extremely cinematic, and building out the story more. Because something that I hear constantly every time I talk to a Star Fox fan is that the thing that resonates a lot with people when you look at the series as a whole, not just the rail shooters, is the character interactions. So leaning into that, leveraging that, I think that is going to resonate with the core Star Fox audience more than a lot of people realize. So I think that's great. I do notice, and we'll talk about this later, they use both Star Fox logos. So Star Fox Zero introduced, if you look on Fox's left shoulder there, Star Fox Zero introduced the Fox logo with its feet together, which was contrary to Star Fox 64, where the feet were apart on the Fox. These are the things you notice when you don't have enough games in your series, so you're left to stare at the same ones for a long time. And I noticed in this one that, do I have my cursor on screen? Yes, I do. So Fox has the Star Fox Zero logo there. We're going to see the other logo later. Man, I like the character designs a lot. I know people are mixed on them. I really like them. Yeah, I hope we get a lot of this, just sort of building up the relationship between these characters. I do like something we see a little bit in this. If I can spot it in any of these, it's not a good angle of it. We saw it a little bit on one of the ships here. Each of the R-Wings actually has some customization on it. That's a bad example. I saw one of them as they flew by here. Yeah, Slippy. So Slippy has a little frog foot on the side of his. I saw Falco has feathers on the wings of his, which feels a little bit like a callback to Star Fox Command, which I really like. And Fox, I saw, had Fox paw prints on his. So, and then you've got, actually, I didn't even notice this, you've got green on the side of there. So it looks like there's some customization to each of the R-Wings, which I really liked. That was something that Star Fox Command did, and also Star Fox 2 did, was make each R-Wing a little more unique to each character. Yeah, his is yellow. So yeah, they're customized per the character. I think I like the R-Wing design. One thing I will like, this is going to be really nerdy. So this bit here, above the wing, right beside the G-diffuser, where it lifts up and it's sort of like a hinge by the wing. That was something that in Star Fox 64, the pre-rendered promotional artwork version of the R-Wing had a little piece there for the wing to pivot on when it went between, when the wings opened and went into all range mode. But obviously for the actual in-game model, they don't have that piece. And so then as they went forward, once you get to Star Fox 64 3D and Star Fox Zero, they base their R-Wing on the in-game model, not that pre-rendered promotional model. And so it was missing that part. And I really like that it's back. I like this little piece. I think it makes the ship make more sense in my brain, how it kind of works and how it pivots. Because it does feel like that would be a huge weak point there on the wing if there was no sort of armor on that joint. This part's really built up in a way that I think is similar to the Super Smash Brothers, I think it was Melee or Brawl that introduced it, R-Wing, with this really built up top. Not as big of a fan of that, but I don't hate it. And once again, I just like that we're redesigning it. I like that we went for a long time where every time you'd get a Star Fox game, the R-Wing would look different. And we sort of had hit this level of stagnation with the last two. And I'm excited to see actual new R-Wings. God, I love this level. And here's a good example, like, it's the same levels in general layout, but the geometry is different enough, like here. So, like this area, in Star Fox 64, if I'm thinking of the right area of this map, in Star Fox 64, you'd be able to go around that arc if you wanted to. But here it looks like we have cliffs on either side of it that would prevent that. So they're saying that the actual level layouts are the same, and I do believe that, like, overall, they're probably the same. But it does seem like there are some differences in them. And like Star Fox is obviously a game about lanes as far as where you can go and going through lanes to get different high score combos. So changes like this affect that. And I'm curious if enemy layouts and things will change to affect those changes to how lanes could work. We'll see. That'll be interesting. All right, let's pause on this map for a second here. As far as we know, this isn't adding any levels or anything that weren't in the original. Obviously, we've only got this one look at it, so I wouldn't rule that out entirely, but it doesn't seem like it. Yeah, because we've got Corneria, Katina, Ficina, Aquas, Zonus, Macbeth, and Titania. So we've got all the right planets, Sector X, Y, and Z, Meteo, Corneria. We've got the 2 satellite missions around Venom. So it looks like, based on this, we're exactly the same. We have the same number of levels laid out here at the bottom. So I would assume that nothing as far as that is changing. They could pull a Kid Icarus Uprising on us and you get to the end of Venom and then it keeps going. But I'm not personally expecting it. I'm expecting a remake. I would not call this a remaster. I would call this a remake. An expanded remake even, just because of the extra story content. But I'm not expecting it to go too far beyond the original game. If it does, awesome, but it's not something I'm expecting. I do think the actual, like, render quality here is really good, and I'm curious who's making it. My guess, and I've been saying this for a long time, is Next Level Games. They're technical masterminds, and I feel like this has a little bit of their flavor to it. And it does seem like they would be a good candidate for someone to do a remake and then use that skill, like the engine tech that gets developed to then build that into a new game. Because, yeah, this looks great. And if you've played, like, Luigi's Mansion 3, this has a little bit of that vibe to it. I do like this is actually really cool. Like, I like how bold they've been with reimagining the looks of a lot of these levels. Like Star Fox 64 3D, obviously, like, all new assets, but it was very, very loyal to the look of Star Fox 64, and I really like how much... Let me get to it. Yeah, so you get the base there, Katina's base. Whether Star Fox 64 or Star Fox 64 3D, that was a pyramid, just a straight-up pyramid, and it looks a little better in Star Fox 64 3D. But here we are completely redesigning how it looks. Would have been a really funny opportunity for them to make it look like the one in Star Fox Assault, though it's got a little bit of that vibe to it. So not totally off there. This looks great. Just from an art design standpoint, putting that light behind it so you get that little bit of rim lighting, good stuff. That looks so cool. So, like, that part, like that cutscene. Okay, let's dig into this a little bit because I think there might be kind of something here. So right here, like, Fox is angry, which is interesting. But right here, okay, so the ship clearly looks damaged. Stuff is knocked over. They're putting it back up. Falco's repairing part of the ship. And just before this, they had shown us the bad ending of Sector Z. So that's something that's just occurring to me right now, is these extra, like, cutscenes, these, like, story mission cutscenes that they really seem to be building out. Like, they're going to be different ones depending on where you go. So, like, Sector Z if is a mission in Star Fox 64 where the Great Fox is being attacked by missiles, and the mission accomplished condition, the good ending condition, is defeating all the missiles before they hit the Great Fox. The bad ending is a missile hits the Great Fox and destroys part of it. So this looks like the bad ending of that, which is cool to see played out more dramatically than just giving you the bad music and somebody asking Rob if the Great Fox is okay. I'm really excited to see these play out. I do like this. In original Star Fox 64 and Star Fox 64 3D, expert mode was something you had to unlock. I'm curious if they'll still have that, because it looks like they've like kind of redesigned, I'll get into this later, but redesigned how like kind of the medal system works right here. So in Star Fox 64, you unlocked an expert mode by getting all the medals. So I'm curious how this stuff works and what it might unlock. Now here is some of like kind of the legitimate new content. Obviously Star Fox 64 had a multiplayer mode, so did Star Fox 64 3D. Star Fox Zero famously did not outside of its co-op mode. And this I'm excited for, because like Star Fox 64's multiplayer was fine. Star Fox Command did it a lot better, because it had online and was a more interesting mode. But then Star Fox 64 3D was local multiplayer only, so it was fine, but like the conditions for it to be played were pretty limited. This I'm interested in seeing. Extending this into a larger online mode. My one concern so far is that they've shown it to have 3 maps, which I don't think seems like enough. But that's also something that I could see being expanded later, depending on how the game does. And once again, it's a budget game, so I'm not expecting the world. This feels very much like a, hey, you saw Fox and Mario Galaxy, let's expand on that, let's get some new people in, and then we can pivot to a new game after that, hopefully with this same team, assuming this is good. I do like this. Any game that can support game share, they should do. I do think this is funny. This threw me off for a second. Obviously, those other people aren't playing at that frame rate, but it looks very funny in this context. I do want to see a deep dive into the tech stuff. Oh, this. Okay. I love first-person mode in Star Fox games, and this looks great. I am curious if this is how it looks for the entire game and how it looks in all-range mode. Because that was something that Star Fox 64 limited, was when you could go into that mode. And actually, the original Star Fox did the same thing. It limited when you could access the first-person mode. So if they can let you actually do that for the entire game and all modes, that's really cool, and I like that a lot. I know that it's not to everybody's taste, but I like how bold they've been allowed to get with the character redesigns. I really do. I like that, because we have been so subservient to Star Fox 64, which is not even my favorite Star Fox game, for so long. And I love not throwing that out. Obviously, it's a remake, but being willing to get away from it is super exciting. I do think it's weird that they're using, that's the Super Nintendo Star Fox logo, not the Star Fox 64 logo, so that throws me off. This is stupid but neat. It does give us a nice opportunity to look at their fur, which looks really nice. Yeah, man, once again, I know it's divisive. I really like these character designs. They remind me of the puppets. As opposed to Star Fox 64, which really just set a, like, everything must be based on Star Fox 64 from this point. But as a kid who always preferred the Super Nintendo game, this feels correct. This, useless but fun. It's neat. I've played a few other rail shooters on Switch with my NSO controller. There is an interesting nugget in this. So they highlight Star Fox 64 and the original Star Fox, and the one other Star Fox game they choose to highlight is Adventures. And then they stop. I was waiting for them to move on, but they just make sure to highlight Adventures and then Super Smash Brothers, which makes me wonder if Adventures is maybe getting added to NSO soon. Like, there's... Weird that they would highlight that game, of all games. I suppose it is the other best-selling Star Fox game. That's a new Cornerian emblem, by the way. I like this version of General Pepper. So there, that was the old Star Fox logo, and I really like that they used that for James McCloud's Arwing. It like is a very subtle nod to fans to show something being older than the current timeline, and I really like that. You know, for those of you who didn't play 64, or maybe don't remember it as well, this entire sequence is just like 2 pictures and a brief narration. So having this stuff that sort of happens off screen or is implied played out, and these character moments actually developed on, that's super exciting. You could make the argument like, hey, just make a movie. But I'd always rather play it. So I'm super excited about it. Hang on, I just noticed something potentially adorable. Guys. He has two paw prints on his R-wing. One of them is big and one of them is small, and it's a pup. That's Fox's print and that's James's print. That's adorable. Y'all. That is adorable. That's great. Oh, I didn't notice that before. Boy, from that top view, you can tell the actual fuselage of the R-wing is really short and the wings are really wide. I love the art. I love it. I feel like I'm on a hill by myself. If you like the art, let me know in the comments so I don't feel crazy. I will say, it's probably just the redesigned art, but I don't recognize a lot of the Venomian ships, like the little fighters. Also, that's a new sound for the blasters. I really hope part of building up the story is building up Andross's story, because that was something that was explored a lot in like comics and other forms of media, but is always skipped over in the games, and I'd love to see them dig into that more. I will say, the way they edit this cutscene, you just see James crashing, you never see him, like, it's very much missing in action. Which I'll be interested to see how they play out in a more story-driven version of the ending. Great stuff, guys. I am very excited. I know that the general consensus has been sort of a level of concern over it being a remake, because it's a remake of Star Fox 64, which is a game that has been remade a lot. And I agree with you. If you're someone who would prefer a new game, me too. As a hardcore fan of this series, even the ones that other people don't like, yeah, I want a new game. Here's what I will say. Just looking at this from Nintendo's perspective, you've churned up a bunch of interest in the series through the Mario Galaxy movie. It's been wild to see how many people are now interested in the series. New people are interested in the series. And so, yes, you could make a new game. But you also, like, one of the problems that I think Star Fox has faced is it doesn't have an established dev team. The first two were made by Nintendo with Argonaut. And especially on the first one, a lot of that work was being done by Argonaut. The second one is the only one that was done internally. Star Fox 64, the third one, was the only one that was done internally. Adventures was Rare, Assault was Namco, Command and Star Fox 64 3D were Q Games, and Zero was Platinum Games. And so there's no Star Fox team. There's no Star Fox development team. And so finding a team to put on this game and say, hey, we want to make a new one, would be difficult. And when I look at this, I see, and I could be wrong, I see Nintendo going, okay, let's do a remake, but not just a remaster like Star Fox 64 3D. Let's legitimately kind of redo this game, and that's what we're seeing here with a lot of the added story content. And it gives a development team, whoever they may be, time to learn the game. Essentially, hey, do your homework. Here's our best one. Here's Star Fox 64. I think the best one is the first one. I'd rather have a remake of that, but we'll take Star Fox 64. Here's this one that people really like. Get that working. Get the feel of that game, and get that system down. And from there, you take all of these assets that you've made you take all that, and then you make a new game with the experience you've gained. My comparison point, and it's not a perfect comparison, my comparison point would be Mercury Steam on Samus Returns, where they took a Game Boy game. Now, granted, I will say Mercury Steam had a lot more to do, because Metroid 2 is a much worse game than Star Fox 64, so there was a lot more for them to fix. So where they put their focus was in changing gameplay, whereas Star Fox 64, the base game is like a borderline perfect game. And so the things you're changing are visual and story, as far as expanding on the story. but I view it in very much the same context as, hey, remake this game first so you get a workflow, so you understand how to do this, and then, just like Mercury Steam did with Metroid Dread, you make a new game. And I think that's what we're going to see here, assuming this one doesn't totally bomb. But even like Samus Returns didn't do amazing, but it was the sort of training mode for Samus Returns, and then that got made. And even what we've heard about like Metroid Prime 4, where we've heard them talk about how Metroid Prime 4 was sort of their way to get Retro built back up into a studio that could make Metroid games. It doesn't seem like they're that worried about like how well that game did. They were worried about making a studio that could do this. And I think this may be the same thing. My bet is on Next Level Games, is my guess for who's making this. But I could be wrong. I'm super curious. I don't think we see anything. Let me get to the copyright. It gets confusing because they show Smash Bros, which means the copyright disclaimer at the end of this is wild. It has like everybody in it. But what I'd be interested in is to see if there's anybody in there that wouldn't be associated with Smash Bros that we could derive any significance from. I'm guessing there won't be. HAL, Pokemon, Creatures, Game Freak, yeah. 2018. Universal Studios. Yeah, so nothing there. But yeah, I'm thinking Next Level Games. That's my guess. Something about this gives me that vibe. It could be somebody like Q Games. If this is Q Games, this is the most impressive thing they've ever made. But the look of this, I think, is very much in line with other work that Next Level Games has done, and the timeline would line up. They haven't released anything about 4 years. This looks very nice and could be a game that took 4 years. Not necessarily just in development, but like it's a game that like I look at this and I go, that could be what they were doing. 100%, that could be what they were doing. But we'll see. Overall, once again, would prefer a new game, but if I'm gonna play Star Fox 64 again, I'm down for playing it this way. I do want to hear if others like the art style or not, because I do feel like I am alone on a hill. I'm super... Oh! Free as a Bird... Wasn't that from the comic books? Wasn't that one of Falco's gangs? Was Free as a Bird the gang that he joined before Star Fox Adventures? I don't remember. I'll double check. You'll see somewhere on screen telling me whether I'm right or not. Yeah, I'm super excited. I think doing this as a budget title, as sort of an onboarding, makes sense, even if it's not exactly what I would want. I think that, and that's the thing, is there's like what I would want, right? As a person who has played every Star Fox to an insane degree, as a person who actively looks for other games that are like Star Fox, as a person who, like, I have literally had developers reach out to me to play their games and tell me if it's playing correctly like Star Fox. Like, I am the nerd. I am a Star Fox historian. I should not, it's going to sound weird, but I should not be the target audience. Because if I'm the target audience, you're selling to exactly one person. The better thing to do is do something that can appeal to the new people who just saw Mario Galaxy. And yes, this is Star Fox 64. Yes, you can play that on NSO. But if you approach a child now, a young person now, and you show them Star Fox 64 or original Star Fox, those, especially original Star Fox, is kind of hard for them to access in terms of like the playability of it. And Star Fox 64 obviously looks very dated. And there's no easy way for them to play Star Fox 64 3D. This makes sense. It's a game that you already know is good. You can expand on it and just make it better. And it's a great onboarding. My hope is, Nintendo... What did you think? My hope is that you then follow this up, and this is what you need to do. You have to then follow this up with a new game. It should be a sequel to this game. It doesn't need to be, you know, a sequel to Star Fox Command. You can do a sequel to this. My one other thing that I'll add right here at the end. When Star Fox Zero got delayed, the note that they gave with it was that they wanted to rework the cutscenes to be more in line with the Star Fox IP. This game has cutscenes that are not in line with the Star Fox IP, and I have to wonder if some elements of this were things that were pitched for Zero that they ultimately didn't do. I wonder. I have, you know, no way to know, but I'm very curious. Anyway, that's all from me. I'm optimistic about this. I get where people would be apprehensive. I get where, like, I too want a new game, but I'm very optimistic about this. I like the art style a lot. And I like that the art is doing something new. I wish the game was doing more new, but I'm super excited about this added story content. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and if you want to reach out to me specifically, you can reach out via your social media channel of choice, using the handle that's somewhere on screen. You can hop into our Discord, there's a link in the description, to chat about this or anything else Nintendo related, and you can find a whole lot more at nintendoworldreport.com. Once again, my name's John Rairdin, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. This video was made possible by our generous supporters on Patreon. Check out patreon.com/NWR for all the details.